Welcome into the J Leman VIP film room here with the Illini Inquirer. All-American linebacker J Leman will help us break down what is going wrong in the red zone and these short yardage situations. It's been an issue all year, Jay. What do you think?
Well, I think first and foremost, we're not getting a great push from our interior offensive linemen. I think they would say the same thing. But, as far as our guards and center, I think we need a better push. There's been times they've had great pushes, number one. Number two, we simply have not executed great. I don't think it's necessarily the play calls sometimes, but I do think we lack a little confidence. And number three is we don't have a lot of size at receiver. And so to throw the ball up top to anybody has been difficult. Now we saw Tip Ryman catch some. We saw Hightower catch one kind of back at Indiana where it got taken away when it was a catch. We've seen Pat Bryant have a couple catches, but it's been difficult to get the ball to him.
All right, Jay, let's start it off. Great start to this game. Sidney Brown with the interception, of course. A couple of great Chase Brown runs, Tip Ryman catch. But you get into the red zone here, 1st and goal at the 3. And it all starts to fall apart. But this is first down, just a run to the inside, and it gets swallowed up. Chase does get, a yard here. But take us through what you see.
Well, it's the penetration from the backer going right through Pillstrom's shoulder here, right? You'll see I believe it's the guy who's actually in the line first, right? Or is it the second guy? Yep. So right there, they have a double A gap blitz. And you're right. The second guy that comes in through Pillstrom's right shoulder. Isaiah Adams does a pretty good job of absorbing the first one. But anytime I can get pressure like that, watch how it makes Chase Brown bounce horizontal, right? He wants to go upfield right now, but he can't, right? Because he has to escape this. That penetration basically throws the timing off, and you're going to see the safety now be able to make a play, even though you're getting a good block by Zy Chrysler. Zy Chrysler's going to town on his guy right here. You see 72. Like, this is a good block right here, and that's a big hole, right? Mm-hmm. But he should be in that hole, but he's so wide now he's got to cut back to it, and the safeties can basically, respond and get there in time. But really, it's the penetration from that linebacker on the double A gap blitz.
So was Pillstrom just caught off guard here, Jay? What happened, do you think?
I mean, first of all, it's good timing by the linebacker, but also he's got to work to get his head across of that linebacker. See how that guy gets his head in the A gap? Pillstrom has got to work to get his left shoulder on the chin of that linebacker, and he's playing way too high. Anytime you're getting bounced up right here, you're playing too high, and that's the difference right there is the problem. Isaiah Adams had a good block picking up the blitz and whatnot, but Pillstrom did not.
Yeah. All right, Jay, next play. This is a huge moment in the game because Illinois, man, they could have taken just complete control early, set the tone here. But this is I don't mind this because Tommy DeVito is kind of your best red zone runner. But he's kind of done it more off the sneaks and zone reads. But what do you see here?
Sure. Well, first and foremost, I think Isaiah Adams does a good job of getting the hook on the left guard position. See how he reaches that D end. He's the left guard. Okay. Kind of creates a nice little edge. But the problem is Julian Pearl here, and even Marquez has a decent block where he's moving his feet. See how he's driving this guy? Good block by Marquez, 42. But Pearl and Chase Brown, they get a knock on somebody, but none of them blocks the free tackler right there. And he comes right in. That's just one block away. And that's a block I think that Chase should be able to get. He should be able to read that and block that guy. But he was confused as he has, Julian Pearl blocking the guy. And so he turns and then both of them miss that guy, right? So they both come off and there's a miscommunication. And that's what happens. But if Chase gets this guy, he could probably split Chase and Julian Pearl stayed on his guy. This is a touchdown, right? So it's those. Is it a bad call? No. I don't think it's a bad call. No, it's a good call. So, I mean, I know people are on Barry Lunney and whatnot, but it happens. You don't block a guy. This is what happens.
Yeah. I mean, listen, when you're watching the game, you're like, oh, these play calls aren't working. The offense coordinator is going to get, especially when it's an issue all year.
Sure.
But you watch the film and Jay, this is there if it's blocked well. But yeah, I think Pearl, did he block the wrong guy and Brown was supposed to get the other guy? And then all of a sudden, Brown's second guessing himself, right?
Well, it's a really good block by Marquez. Marquez actually blocks too right here. So watch Marquez, watch him drive wide base. Now see how he blocks that secondary guy.
Yep.
So right now I've got a hat for a hat, right? So I've got Pearl on one guy and Brown on the other guy, and we miss blocks, right? And end up not blocking any of them. So, I mean, they have it schemed up for what you want, unable to make the play.
Yeah. So that was there. Let's go to the next play, Jay. Still at the 3-yard line. So you haven't gained anything here. This is a formation we haven't seen before. This is Chase Brown basically as the fullback, Isaiah Williams as the running back. I mean, can't fault Barry Lunney for not being creative here. I'd personally like Josh McCray here and Chase Brown here, but
sure,
not getting as much here. So take us through what you see here.
Yeah, for me, I mean, as an inside linebacker, if I saw Chase Brown at fullback, I would be licking my chops just instinctively. I mean, I called it out from the stand saying, okay, this is going to Chase Brown, right? He's never ever at fullback, right? So
this one probably got a little too thoughtful.
Yeah, I and usually they'll run a trap out of this. And this is kind of like a trap, but it's kind of just like an inside zone. And what you want to do on this play is he wants to cut it right back behind Tip Ryman, the tight end. So he's going to take it right here, and there should be a little gap, right? See that? And he kind of dives in, but there's a hole there if he's able to cut it back tighter. Do you see that?
Yeah. Because
it's in between the what we call the wham blocker, which is the receiver making a block right there, and make this guy miss in space. And just it's though it's a very hard read because you get the ball quick, it's hard to see, but that's where I think you want to hit it, is to the left a little bit because there's a hole there and you go one-on-one with a guy in space.
Yeah, and it's a situation he hasn't taking a lot of carries out of that spot, right? So in game that can be difficult. And I think Reggie Love had one of those where he had a hole, maybe missed it because he's just thinking about getting a yard. And you're just thinking about getting uphill as fast as you can. Jay, talk about a play that I thought was schemed open. We're back to 4th down here after those 3 plays. Man, they seemed like 2 wide receivers open on this one, but we talked about it in the pod, felt like a miscommunication because the scheme gets 2 guys open here, it seems like.
Well, what's so interesting is they really catch this defensive back being lazy. Number one, who's on Isaiah Williams. So start from the top. Okay. And what they're going to do is they're going to bring Isaiah Williams in to a stack position right here. But they assume he's just going to go all the way over like he does all the time. Mm-hmm. But now they're going to mix up the man coverage here because who's got man to man because they're stacked, right? And they're completely confused, right? And Tommy can see that, dude, this guy's just not even looking in. You see how he's reading him here? Mm-hmm. He's reading that one DB who came in that bounced in off of Isaiah, and he's really got the option for he wants to throw the football here, right? And so it's an interesting thing because he does get into that one backer / DB gets into the throwing lane of Pat Bryant late here. So yeah, watch him get into the throwing lane. I'm just watching this play here. And the DB comes off. And it seems like if he waited 1 more minute or Pat Bryant backed up a little bit or just waited for Isaiah to get distance, there would be there, but he throws it at an opportune time. And some of that's pressure from Halliday, who got in there, who was a menace the whole day. So so both of them are open. I mean, throw it to the corner right now to Isaiah. You throw to the pylon right now. There's no way that guy's going to be able to catch Isaiah right there. So I'm not sure what he's thinking. It's hard to tell. Pressure in his face, though, doesn't help.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I thought Michigan State did a great job all day of those guys were crashing, right? Those outside linebackers, like Halliday was coming off the edge so many times during this game. All right, Jay, let's get to this is a 4th and 1 later on in the game. 3rd, your midfield here. And this is the fumble. Right. I don't think this was going to work anyway. I think Michigan State had the right play called up to take me through it. Yeah, so I think Cal Halliday, they moved him over there. He's usually the middle backer, but have him lined up just on the tight end. And you can see he reads this from the jump. Yeah. Ryman not really able to get the block, but I do think that Chase Brown, if he would have caught it clean, could make a cutoff there, right? And maybe fall forward for the 1st down. It's a good play by Cal Halliday, though.
and then he's able to, make the tackle after there's a fumble on the snap.
Jay, let me ask you this.
Another play like this back in the day, right? Last year, did we have something like this where we pitched it? I can't remember. 2 years ago?
Rutgers. I think it was Rutgers.
Yeah. Okay.
I was thinking, why not sneak it? But they seem ready for that, right? Like,
Yeah.
if this was, I was thinking if this was an option for Tommy DeVito to either sneak it or to pitch it, he probably made the right decision to pitch it, I would imagine. Which I
probably. I mean, they're really stacked down in there, and you're thinking that Ryman's going to have enough be able to block Halliday enough, right? That Chase can cut him off him for 1 yard. And, I think he probably would have been able to cut off for 1 yard, but he wasn't able to catch it, and that kind of blew up the play.
Yeah. All right. Let me find my notes here, Jay.
This is like our old calls, man. All these mistakes.
I know. It's been a while since we've had something like this. All right. Let's get to this play. Bring it up here. All right. This is a 3rd and 3, I think, right before that pitch, Jay. And this is why I want to bring it up, because we focus on 4th down, but 3rd down is important too, because it leads to either 4th down or not. And this is more what we see kind of time after time, where Illinois is just not able to get these yards on the zone read.
Well, they one thing you'll see here is they're bringing an extra guy here, number one, but they still have enough blockers. They should be able to pick it up, right? Because they have, I believe it's about 6 guys on 6 guys, because you've got a tight end in there as well, right?
Yep.
And they've just been unable to get the push. I mean, usually you'll see a push on that blue line where Illinois is just road grade. We saw this against Nebraska. They would road grade it. They don't get much push at all here, really. I mean, you can see it's really just stout at the point of attack, and they're able to hold their ground. It's just a lack of push. You can see that Isaiah Adams isn't very square there. He kind of gets his hips turned, where he's unable to push on that double team, because 97 should be rooted out there. That's a double team. But you see how he kind of gets his hips turned. And so he's not pushing downfield. He's then pushing to the side, and 97's holding the ground right there, which then constricts the gap for the nose tackle, who's taking on Pilstrom one-on-one and basically holding his ground.
Yeah, Jay, they really struggled to get to the second level all day. Was it them getting too low, or is Michigan State just being really good?
Well, I think that they do what they call a combo block, which is, Isaiah Adams will put a hand on that guy to start out, and then he'll climb up, or a lineman will climb up to the second level. But I think their D-line played really well. Mm-hmm. And I think they also attacked a lot. Like, they weren't like waiting back. They were downhill backers right at them. And I think we're going to see more of that when we face other defenses.
Yeah. Alex Pelcheski was talking about, we're just like, we need to go take it. Like, we didn't maybe have that the other day. And he was pretty angry after the game, which was probably good to see, because I did think this, the camera was so far away. They were so pulled out. So it's a little fuzzy on this play, but this is another key 3rd and 2, Jay, inside the red zone. You got a chance to tie the game here. And again, there's just all this disruption up front. I do think the left side did a decent job. Maybe Reggie Love can bounce it out, but just not the push we're used to seeing here.
I mean, Zy Chrysler's just getting beat right here. I mean, that is what it is. You just see the pressure right here. And, they're bringing an extra guy for the quarterback no matter what here. So they're saying, guys, no matter what, we know he's got to hand this football off if it's zone read, okay? Because that defensive back has him, right? Now, they did have some success where Chase, on the handoff, would cut back in between right off the left tackle, right? Yep. That is a very difficult, because it's creating another gap, and that gap has nobody in it sometimes, the way the defense plays when you look at the zone read. But right now, it's just Zy Chrysler. You can't start on the line and get pushed back, and watch what it does to Chase. It's going to make him cut up inside to where 3 or 4 defenders are, right? And that's difficult. I think if he could take that back, Chase might try to be a little more patient and cut it.
It's Reggie Love in the game, Jay.
Oh, Reggie Love. I'm sorry.
So I think Chase, if he's in the game, and I wonder if he was nicked up a little late in the game, because Reggie Love got some key carries, which he had some good runs, but
Yeah.
I wonder if Chase would have cut this back, Reggie.
Well, and we saw Chase cut this back a couple times for some of his big runs, right?
Yep.
In that gap, I'll call it the D gap, right outside or C gap, right in between the tackle and that outside backer. But yeah, I just think the vision's there for him to get 3-4 yards at least, if he has the vision.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to do this stuff when your offensive line is struggling, right? Like, is that the biggest takeaway?
I mean, this is an offensive line driven team. I don't think they've gotten necessarily the credit of what they deserve, but when they're not clicking, we just can't finish drives.
Yeah.
It reminded me a lot of kind of how Minnesota played against us, right?
Mm-hmm.
Remember Minnesota, they could move the ball sometimes, but then when it got down to it, it was difficult for them to execute. And that's kind of how it's been for Illinois that game.
Just to balance this out, Jay, Barry did call some things that were successful, right?
Sure.
In the red zone. I wanted to highlight those to balance this out. 3rd and 4, huge down, trying to get back into this game. It's an interesting formation, right? They bunch everything up. But man, I think DeVito, his follow through with the fake here is fantastic, Jay, but take me through what you see.
Yeah. So the follow through is exceptional, number one, but I would say this and the quick pitch like that, but I think it starts with the formation. Okay. I have really liked, and Brett mentioned this, whether it's personnel, we got to go bigger, we got to go smaller, we got to do formation, whatever it is. I like this formation because if you line up tight, they line up tight, right? There's always a reason, right? So they line up tight to try to get Isaiah Williams to the edge, right? Sometimes they'll line up wide to gash him down the middle with Chase Brown. But what I love is using Chase Brown as a decoy more. Yes. We saw this play, and we'll see it in the 2-point conversion where he's used as a decoy, right? If we're going to cue on him so much, let's do this. The timing of this was impeccable. This play is all timing with the snap and the pitch. So it's got to be good timing. And then
you get this guy right in conflict, right? Like that's
right. Yeah, because you've got to somehow figure out how to get past this guy because he's unblocked, right? So there you pick up a guy right there, an extra hat because he's unblocked and you make him miss. And then you have Tip Ryman with a good block on probably the best defensive player, Halliday. And then they just come inside. Good read right there by Isaiah Williams.
Love it. And Jay, this is the biggest thing I think Barry Lunney can do is everyone's so focused on Chase Brown. You got to use that, right? Like I know you want the guy to get touchdowns and he's your best player, but that also draws so many eyes. And that's exactly what they do here on the 2-point conversion. This is beautiful. 3 tight ends and Chase Brown. What do you think the defense is going to think they're going to do? Right.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, we're going to throw it to Chase Brown and let him run behind the tight ends. And you can just watch the trigger here. I mean, look at the trigger of 13 as he kind of a fake block from Ryman, right? And then he's just going to slip it and be wide open. But look, great eyes here by Tommy. He had his choice between Luke or Tip here on who he wants, but it's really the eyes. So the eyes right there from Tommy. See how he looks away, everybody, and then at the last second comes back. See that pump. Then his eyes are on Luke, and then see how it freezes 33 right there.
Yep.
That's right. See how it freezes him right there. The eyes, right there. He gives it to Luke a little bit of a glance before he turns, and then he hits Ryman.
And he throws that between his own too. Like that's a pretty good throw too.
Good throw, and Ryman showing some good ball skills.
Yeah. So I think that's the big, like if you're Barry Lunney, Jay, what do you take away from all this?
Right. I would just say, okay, everyone's keen on Chase. Let's use that against people. Let's have other people step up. Hey, when Isaiah touches the ball, good things happen. Have both of our touchdowns, right? So good things happen. So I think you're going to see number 1 and number 2 used in unique ways. And if not as deep play, as decoys. I do think the development of our tight ends is solid. We've got 3 solid tight ends, and so I love the tight end room right now. I think it's very solid and a weapon they can use.
J Leman, All-American analysis every week of the Illinois football season. Man, we appreciate it and always make us football smarter. Thank you, man.
You got it, man.